Hey there, it's Mark from Men Who Bullet. Thanks so much for checking out today's video where we are going to set up a bullet journal for 2021. I'm going to be going over the basics of bullet journaling today and helping set yourself up for success. So let's go ahead and get ready to set up a 2021 bullet journal right here, right now. Now, as we get started, I want to thank Emerging Green for sending out these notebooks to me. They were very cool and reached out and wanted to introduce their environment-friendly products to me. The bullet journal method, if you aren't familiar, is a method that was created by Ryder Carroll. You can find out a lot more information over on the bullet journal website, which is bulletjournal.com. You might see a lot of things online, especially on Instagram and Pinterest, when you start to look at bullet journaling. And know that there is a difference between the pure version of bullet journaling, which is about productivity and really focusing on your tasks and what you're trying to accomplish. And then you also move into creative journaling, which can use the bullet journal method, but that's where you're going to see more of the illustrations and the stickers and the doodles and the drawings. At the core of bullet journaling, it is all about what is going to work for you. And what I always say, regardless of who you are, is that if you're using the bullet journal method, ensure that you are using and you know the foundations first before you start to add on the layer of design. I believe that everyone's journal should be customized for themselves, and that's a really important thing for me personally to communicate to you. Now, whether you are what I would consider a bullet journal purist and you follow the method word for word, that's fantastic, and I love you for that, and I'm so glad that that works for you. But for others, you might be looking for something a little bit more. And I want to do this inside of this line journal so that you can understand that you can use a bullet journal in anything. It does not have to be a specific notebook or a specific brand or even a specific quality. The quality and all those other individual tastes that you might have, they're up to you. But let's make sure that you can understand and follow this method first before you worry too much about those other pieces. So this is the notebook from Emerging Green that we mentioned. This is an A5 spiral bound notebook. Emerging Green is all about trying to create sustainable products. So all of the paper that's inside of this notebook is made from recyclable material. The paper itself is 80 GSM. So if you're familiar with the Loystroms or maybe the Exceed brand from Walmart, those have about the same type quality paper that you're going to see here. So I'm going to use this notebook because I really want to empower you to start bullet journaling without worrying about anything extra. No special notebooks, no special stationery beyond a pen. That's all that we're going to focus on today, is just setting you up for success to get you started. So what materials do I have? The notebook, and then the pen that I have is just a uniball Signo. This is one of my favorite pens that I've ever used inside of a bullet journal. I have many favorites, but this is easily accessible, not very expensive, and you can get plenty of them from Amazon or another store. And I'll link that in the description below if you're interested in getting that as well. So the first thing that we're going to set up is actually not going to be directly on our page here. I'm going to give you this tip because I have found it so handy throughout the years, and I still use this myself, is writing it on a sticky note. This way, your key, as we're going to set up right now, and I'm going to talk about each of these, this can travel with you as you're going through and learning how to use your bullet journal. I have found this to be a fantastic resource as you get started, because even though it seems pretty simple, it's likely that you might forget some of these as you're going along. And especially if you're brand new to bullet journaling and never have done it before, these are going to be really important for you to memorize and for you to understand. And the only way to do that is to always have them with you. So there are some key things that are a part of the key in bullet journaling that we're going to cover and we're going to be using as we start this. The most important one, and the reason that the bullet journal has its name, is because of the bullet. The bullet is for your task. It's the verb, it's the action item, it's the thing that you're going to do. So anytime you have an action item and something that you need to complete, you're going to draw a small bullet and you're going to write out your task next to it. The dashed line, these are for your notes. These are the non-action items. These are for the important things that you need to remember, but not necessarily need to take action on. An open circle I use for events. These could be appointments, these could be meetings, and usually what I do is after I go to that meeting or I have that appointment, I'll sometimes fill those in, or you can cross them out if you want to. But that open circle lets me know that there's something that I need to go to or something that's happening on that day. After a task is complete, you're going to draw an X through it. It's one of the most satisfying parts of bullet journaling, is completing that task and getting that thing done. It's wonderful. Make sure you never forget to cross off your tasks when they're done. The next two are going to be your migration indicators. You're going to draw your task, and say you don't complete that task, but you need to remember it for the next day or for the next week, depending on how you're working. You're going to do that, and you're going to draw a right-facing caret. That's going to let you know that you've migrated that to the next day or migrated that to the next week. If you have a task that you're not going to complete in that time frame, you're going to draw a left-facing caret, and that means you're going to migrate this back to your future log. And we're going to set that future log up in just a minute. I always like to remember this as we're going back to the future log. The next thing is going to be an asterisk. You can also use an exclamation point if you want, and this means that this task is priority. Most of the time you're going to draw that asterisk or that exclamation point right next to your bullet there, and that's to really let you know this is an important thing that you need to take care of. The next is going to be a line that you're going to draw through anything that you don't need to worry about. That could be a task, that could be an event, something that was planned to happen but didn't need to. You're just going to draw a straight line through that. So now that we have that, the first thing that we're going to set up in here is going to be our index. The index is the brain, in my opinion, of the entire bullet journal. Everything that you put inside of your index is what lives inside of your bullet journal. These can be your weeklies, these are your notes, these are anything that you note inside of here. This is your table of contents to everything that you're going to do inside of here. As we continue to fill this out, we'll be coming back to the index. What I'm going to mention about it is just, this is something that you have to build that muscle memory. Anytime you write down a note or a collection page, you want to make sure that you know what page it's on, and you want to make sure to bring it back here into the index. Now, when I first get started inside of bullet journaling, I do like to recommend not skipping pages. The reason is you never know how many pages you're actually going to need for certain types of notes or collections. So I recommend not skipping pages. The only place that I skip a page is usually inside of the index, and that's just what we're going to do today. We're just going to flip it over and skip 2 pages, and then that way you know that you have plenty of room inside of your notebook to note down your pages and the topics that you have for that. Once we get over to this page, what I'm going to have you do is write down the very first page number in the bottom right-hand corner of your page. You could do that on the top, you could do that anywhere that you want, but it's important to number your pages if your notebook already isn't numbered. In this case, this is not a numbered notebook, it's just a line notebook, so we'll be writing those in as we go along. So on this page, what we're going to set up is going to be our future log. And what our future log is for us, it's just a way for you to pre-plan for what's coming up. You might write down tasks and notes, or even have events that you're not necessarily going to accomplish immediately, or maybe future birthdays or things you have to remember. Your future log is where all of that's going to live. Now for this, we are just going to set this up for the next 3 months. Depending on the size of your notebook and how long you think you'll be using that certain notebook, you're going to set that up appropriately. Maybe you need 2 pages to do that. Today we're just going to use the 1. Now what I'm going to do inside this line notebook is I'm just going to draw a lot of space here just to mark out my month, and then I'll have the next 3 months ready to go. In this case, we'll start January, February, and March. So our future log is going to be very plain and simple. We are not going to go all out and put anything extra or calendar dates or anything like that. If you want to do that on your own in your own bullet journal, please feel free to do that, but we're going to keep this nice and simple today. So now that we have our future log and we gave the page a title, we're going to go back into our index to mark what page this is on. Now the way the index works is over on the left-hand side, you're going to write the page number that your item is on, and then you're going to name your topic of that page. In this case, it's our future log. Anytime you open up your notebook and you need to find a note, this is going to help you find exactly what you're looking for. So we're going to go ahead and flip over to the next page here, and what we're going to do is put in our next 2 pages, which is page 2 and 3. Now on these pages here, we're going to set up our very first monthly log, and we're going to be doing that for January of 2021. The easiest way to set this up is by writing down the numbered date and the letter of the day of the week to know where you are to get started. The way that I'm going to set this up inside of this line journal is I'm going to write the date, number, and the day of the week letter next to here. And I'm going to use both of these pages because there's 31 days inside of January. January 1st is on a Friday, and then I'll fill out the rest of this to follow as we go along. So now that we have the entire date out here, this is how I like to think about taking on this page. What you'll do is go through your calendar, go through your special dates, go through any notes or things you have to remind yourself of, and you're going to fill this out depending on the date that it is. I gave myself this much space because there might be multiple things that are going on that day, and you're just going to continue them along these pages here. Now with a little bit of this extra space over here, what I like to do is I'm just going to write notes. This could be for any type of extra task or maybe a note that you need to remember within the month. It's just a really great way to always go back and reference your pages as you go along. I always like to tell people who are just getting started that the bullet journal is very much a reference page. You reference your index to find your pages in your notebook. You're going to reference your future log as you start to plan for each individual month. And then you're going to reference your monthly page as you go into your next, which are going to be your weeklies or your dailies. Now that we have page 2 and 3, we are going to go back to our index here and we're going to write them in, and we're going to write in January monthly. Now we know in the book where we're going to find them. So we have our index here. We have our future log for January, February, and March. We have our very first monthly page that has the dates and day of the week along with a small space for notes. So now that you have these, we're going to move into our very first weekly, which is going to be filled with daily notes. You can take this on any way that you want, but what we're going to talk about right now is rapid logging, which is a really important part of the bullet journal method. So to get started, what we're going to do is write down which month that we're in. We're in January. And the next thing you're going to do is just write down the date. So let's say we're going to start this on January 1st of 2021. I'm going to come up here and pull back out my key and take this along with me as we're going through and thinking about some things that might happen that you're going to jot down inside of your bullet journal. So rapid logging is a really quick and easy way to take down notes and tasks and important items as you're having a conversation, thinking about things, or even inside of a meeting. You don't have to write down every single note to be efficient and productive. Sometimes you just need to grab out those important things as you're going through. I like to start off most of my weeks with a brain dump. It's kind of a silly name, but what it means is you're getting everything out of your mind onto a sheet of paper so that you can tackle those tasks as you're going on. So we're going to pretend that we're in January 1st. We just got done celebrating New Year's. We're ready to take on a new year itself. What are some things that I need to accomplish in the next few days? The first thing that I'm going to write down is a task, which is going to be to take down my holiday lights. This doesn't mean that this is the first task that I'm going to do, but it's something that I'm going to be paying attention to and I'm going to try to get to in this day. And if not, we'll move it along throughout the weekend as we go through. Some other things that I'm going to be thinking about as we get started are just some notes. Because I'm a designer, I have a lot of reoccurring subscriptions that are coming out. One of the things that I might be reminding myself here is that I'm going to be charged for my Adobe Creative Suite at the end of the month. So I might just write a note down here that I'm remembering that. There's no action that I need to take. It's just simply reminding me that it's something that's on my mind and that I'm going to try to refer back to. Something that you can also do with any of these bullets or these tasks or events is actually nest them together. And I'll often do this, especially if some type of a task has multiple parts to it. So for instance, let's say that I want to send thank you notes for holiday gifts, but I don't have everything I need to get that done. You can nest tasks inside of here to help you remember what you need to accomplish for the bigger one. So the first one here would be to buy note cards. The next one might be to create my list. So these are two tasks that I need to accomplish before I do my big one. And this is just an example of ways that you can do this. Now we've also done something here, which is I need to create my list of names. This is something that you can put on top of a collection page if you want. And what a collection page is just a series of common notes or ideas that you might have together. And those can happen anywhere along these pages as you're going through. A bullet journal is not going to be all in a specific order, piece by piece. Each day might take a different page. I might need to do something on this page that means that tomorrow is January the 2nd, and I'll I'll be a page away from where I was here. The most important thing as you're going through these is just remember that you're going to be referencing these pages often. So there's not a problem if you have to use a few pages before you get to the next one. I know that it's going to break your brain to try to think that way. For a very long time, I was in the same boat. I was always worried about, oh wait, I need to figure out my entire week here and go through that. But the reality is if I put January the 2nd over here and I had a really busy day with notes and I needed to go over here, I'd already throw myself off a little bit. If you're the type of person who really wants to focus on doing that, you can certainly do that. This is your bullet journal. You know what you're going to need from it, but I always recommend doing that on a daily basis. It does a few things. It causes you to always come back and reread your other pages first to see if there's anything that needs to make it over to this other page. And also it allows you to really get a fresh start in your day if you want. But if you don't want to start a new page every single day, say you only used a part of the page here, and then we're going into January the 2nd, you can just write it right below your other notes as you're going through. So here, let me show you real quick how migration works. Oh, before I do that, let's make sure we're writing down our page numbers here and writing them inside of our index. See, even as an old pro, I need to remind myself often to go back and do this. Now, as I go page to page, I'm going to add to that topic because I want to really understand and collect the things that I have on this page. So I'll also put next to January the 1st, also January the 2nd. And depending on how much you have going on, this could take a little bit of space. And that's why I really like to make sure that I have enough space to write as I'm filling out these pages. They're live, they're always going to be evolving and changing, so it's important to have enough space to do that. So let's say yesterday I did take down the lights. Go me. And I crossed that off the list, but I didn't send my thank yous yet. One thing you can do, and this is totally up to you, it depends on how you like to work, is bring these along with you as you go. So let's say that I didn't accomplish these, but I want to make sure that I'm doing them today. I'm going to rewrite these again. And what I'll do after I write them again, I'm going to show that I've migrated them forward with that right facing arrow. And that means that I've moved them on to my next day. So we go through the day. It's a Saturday, not that busy. I'm actually kind of lazy. And the only thing that I did that day was buy some note cards offline. I'm going to cross that off of my list. And then I'm going to go to January the 3rd. And I'm going to migrate the things that I didn't accomplish on the 2nd. And I'm going to migrate them forward. Also, I'm going to make a few notes here. We're going to make our food list for the week, and I'm going to remind myself that there's a sale at insert local grocery store there. So we have all these things that we want to try to accomplish throughout that day. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and make our list over here on this page. This is going to be our holiday thank you notes list. And all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to write down all of the individual people's names that sent me either a holiday card or gave me a holiday gift this year. And let's say this is going to be the list. I only have a handful of friends and they love me very much. What I like to do when I work on some of these collection pages, the first thing I'm going to do is number that page, which has a page 5, and I'm going to move that over here to my index. Then I'm going to come back over here, and sometimes what I'll do is I'll set up kind of like a small grid for ourselves. You don't have to do this. Again, this is all up to you, but I think it's super fun to do. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a straight line here, and I'm going to write written and sent, because these are going to be the two things that I'm going to need to do to accomplish the things that I'm doing here. Now, I've gone and I've created my list, so that task is done. I just haven't sent all of those thank yous out just yet. And let's say also I made my food list too. Nice and easy, good to go. Throughout the day, I decide that I'm going to go ahead and be super productive, and I'm going to write every single one of my notes because I'm a good boy and I'm very nice and appreciative of all of the wonderful gifts. So all those are handled. And then we're just going to continue to fill out this page as we go along. But let's say that after a few days, I've just decided that right now I'm not ready to send these just yet. I want to wait a little bit. The holidays are only just over. And for some odd, strange reason, I'm going to wait until February to send these, which makes no sense at all, but this is how we roll, people. So let's say that I decided I'm not going to send those until then. I'm going to go to my future log. I'm actually going to take that task here. Once that task is in my future log, I'm going to indicate that I move that back to the future, right? I move that back to the future log, and now I don't have to worry about that anymore because I've told myself that I'm going to send them in the future. And that's how you use a future log. So here's everything that we've done so far. We have our index here in the front, which has all of the page number and topics of the things that we've created inside of our notebook. We did skip over a few pages, just as you can see. We're already using a handful here. We want to make sure we have enough. We have our future log, which I set up here to have the first 3 months of the year. If you want more than that, then you're going to create as much space as you need. Our next page after that has our monthly view. And then on our next page over here, we have our very first weekly, which is just the date, our tasks, and our notes, and we're going to continue to go through those as we have them. And we created our very first collection page over here, which was a separate page around thank you notes and things like that. So as you continue along with bullet journaling, what's really important is that you keep with the rhythm of what's happening here. You're going to continue throughout the month with your individual days and your dailies. At the beginning of February, maybe a day or two in advance, it's up to you. You're going to start your overall February monthly page for yourself, and then you're just going to continue doing this as you go through. This is the most basic way to think about bullet journaling. It is very simple, but you have to practice it. It's like anything else that you do. And this alone could be what helps you be more productive, more accountable with the tasks that you have going on in your life, and overall make you feel better and like you've got control over the things that are happening for you. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I love teaching and going through and kind of relearning the bullet journal system every single time that I do a video like this, or I run a workshop or a class, or just sit down with my friend and introduce them to this method. I have found it to be so helpful for me in my personal and my professional life. It really has revolutionized the way that I work and how I get work done. And it's really helped my mental state as well, knowing where things are, easily finding them, and also focusing on some key things that I'm personally interested in well. Now, if you're interested in more videos like this, make sure to drop a comment below and let me know what you want to learn more about. If you have any other ideas for content for my channel, I love to take new ideas in, so make sure to drop that in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and like this video as well if you're interested in more bullet journal and personal productivity videos in the near future. Thanks again so much for watching, and I will talk to you very soon.